Before I begin my speech, this is my audience. Say hi, guys. When I was a senior in high school, I remember having a conversation with one of my teachers about college. I was explaining to her how I was very interested in the medical field, but I also loved the arts. So she suggested the career of medical illustration. At first, I didn't know what medical illustration was, but the more she talked about it, the more interested I became. When one becomes a medical illustrator, it is important to understand the educational requirements, your duties and responsibilities, and the earning potential of this career. But before I can go into that, I'd like to explain some few terms about medical illustration. First of all, what is medical illustration? Medical illustration is a career that applies to both art and science. Medical illustrators create artwork that are scientifically accurate, yet pleasing to people. Here are some examples of some medical illustrations. So these can be found in medical books, journals, presentations, animations, and other places. Now, what is a medical illustrator? Well, according to the Association of Medical Illustration, a medical illustrator is a professional artist that is educated in both life sciences and visual communication. They have to work with scientists, physicians, and other specialists in order to take complex topics and translate them into visual images. These images are then used to help students or the general public to understand complex medical topics. Ruth Eves, a medical illustrator and manager, and medical artist at the Royal Bolton Hospital, said, "The main difference between when you compare a medical illustration and a photograph is the picture cannot tell you what the anatomy is." To become a medical illustrator, it's important to have a higher education. You need at least a master's degree from an accredited graduates program to be a medical illustrator. In North America, there are 3 graduates programs here in the US and 1 up in Canada. The admission requirements vary for each program, but you need a bachelor's degree, especially majoring in science and minoring in art, or vice versa. You also need an art portfolio and a personal interview from the accredited program. 7 to 20 students are accepted each year from these programs. Even though it's very competitive, there is hope. There are some ways that you can prepare to become a medical illustrator. You can start as soon as you are in high school by taking classes that are centered on art and science. In college, you also want to focus on courses that revolve around art and science. There are more than one way to become a medical illustrator, but all medical illustrators have certain responsibilities that they need to be aware of. To become a medical illustrator, there are certain duties and responsibilities that they need to focus on. For medical illustrators and animators, they need to provide visual content. According to Rachel Hajar's article, Medical Illustration, Art and Medical Education, medical illustrators create different types of graphic representations for a variety of purposes. For medical illustrators, they are expected to use software such as Adobe Photoshop to draw their illustrations, or they can draw traditionally. Another responsibility that they have to do or have is to work with physicians and scientists. Here's a picture of a medical illustrator who is observing and drawing what she sees from these surgeons. So, by combining this advanced medical knowledge from the physicians and surgeons with the artistic ability of medical illustrators, they can help the general public understand complex concepts. Now, to become a medical illustrator, it is important to know what their earning potential is. According to the Association of Medical Illustrators, earnings can vary according to experience, education, ability of the artist, type of work, and the area where they work at. Medical illustrators typically, their median salary is around $62,000, but it can go as high as $173,000. For self-employed medical illustrators, they can earn as much as $80,000 or up to $1 million per year. Earnings also depend on the type of employers and services and job skills as well. So certain job skills include animation, multimedia, interactive development, illustration, web design, and graphic design. In general, medical illustrators with diverse skills, plus more responsibility for concept development, command higher salaries. So, in summary, we have learned that medical illustration is a job that applies both art and science. Illustrators are professional artists that are educated in both arts and sciences. They are visual communicators. And you also learned about their education requirements, their duties and responsibilities, and their earning potential. Thank you.
Before I end this video, I forgot to show my setup. So I had a stool as my lectern, and then I had these notes of telling me when to start clicking on the slides. So yeah.